How do you build a city where there is no land? How do you create an empire from a swamp? This is the story of Venice, a city born from defiance, ingenuity, and the sheer will to survive. A story that begins not with stone and steel, but with mud, water, and fear. Our journey starts in the 5th century. The Roman Empire is crumbling, and waves of invaders are sweeping across the Italian mainland. People from prosperous Roman cities like Padua and Aquilea are fleeing for their lives. Their destination, an unlikely sanctuary, the desolate, marshy islands of a lagoon on the Adriatic coast. This wasn't a strategic choice. It was a desperate one. The lagoon offered protection. Its shallow, shifting waters were a natural defense, a maze that foreign ships and armies on horseback could not navigate. But how do you live in a place that is more water than land? The first Venetians had to become masters of their environment. They learned from the lagoon's fishermen, driving thousands upon thousands of wooden posts solder, oak, and pine deep into the mud and sand. These posts, petrified by the salt water and deprived of oxygen, formed an incredibly strong underwater forest. On top of this foundation, they laid thick wooden platforms, and upon those platforms they began to build first simple huts of wattle and daub, and eventually the stone palaces and churches we see today. They weren't just building houses, they were creating land itself. Life was harsh. The early settlers battled tides, disease, and scarcity. Their only real resource was salt, harvested from the sea. This white gold became the foundation of their economy. They traded salt for grain, wood, and everything else they needed to survive. This early trade forged the Venetian spirit. Pragmatic, resourceful, and fiercely independent. They were a community of equals, bound together by shared hardship and a common goal. By the 9th century, this collection of island communities had coalesced into a unified city-state, a republic. They elected their first leader, the Doge, and established a system of governance that would last for 1,000 years. Venice was unique. It looked not to the land behind it, but to the sea before it. The Adriatic was its highway, its farm, and its future. The Venetians became unparalleled shipbuilders. At the arsenal, their state-owned shipyard. They developed an assembly line system centuries ahead of its time, capable of producing a fully equipped war galley in a single day. This naval supremacy was the key to their empire. During the Crusades, Venice positioned itself as the primary transporter of knights and supplies to the Holy Land. This was a business, and business was good. They didn't just ferry armies. They made strategic deals, acquiring trading posts and territories across the Mediterranean. The Fourth Crusade in 1204 was a turning point. The Venetians diverted the crusading army to Constantinople, the heart of the Byzantine Empire. The city was sacked, and Venice walked away with immense wealth and treasures, including the famous bronze horses that now stand on St. Mark's Basilica. Venice was no longer just a trading hub. It was an imperial power. This was the dawn of Venice's golden age. Goods, From the east, spices, silks, perfumes, and precious gems flowed through Venice before reaching the rest of Europe. The Rialto market became the financial center of the Western world. Venetian merchants, like the famous Marco Polo, traveled farther and dreamed bigger than anyone else. The city glittered with the wealth of nations. Artists, like Titian, Tintoretto, and Veronese, filled its churches and palaces with breathtaking masterpieces, their canvases bursting with color and life. But Venice was more than just wealth and power. It was a cradle of innovation. It became a leading center for printing, spreading knowledge and new ideas across the continent. Its glassmakers on the island of Murano created works of unparalleled beauty and technical skill, their secrets jealously guarded. The city hosted the world's first public opera house and perfected the art of celebration with its lavish carnival, a period of masked revelry where social hierarchies were temporarily forgotten. This vibrant society was built on a delicate balance. The Republic was an oligarchy, ruled by its noble families, but it prided itself on stability and justice. It was a place of relative religious tolerance, a crossroads where different cultures met and mingled. Yet it was also a city of secrets, of political intrigue managed by the shadowy Council of Ten, ensuring the state's security through a network of spies and informants. But no empire lasts forever. The tide of history, which had lifted Venice to such great heights, began to turn. In the late 15th century, Portuguese explorers rounded the Cape of Good Hope, opening a direct sea route to India. Suddenly, Venice was no longer the gatekeeper of Eastern trade. Its monopoly was broken. At the same time, the rising Ottoman Empire became a formidable rival in the Mediterranean, leading to centuries of costly wars. The city also fought a constant battle against nature. The very water that protected it also threatened to consume it. The acqua alta, the periodic high tides, became more frequent and more severe. Plagues swept through its crowded canals, with the outbreak in 1630 wiping out nearly a third of the population. The magnificent church of Santa Maria della Salute stands today as a monument of thanks for the city's eventual deliverance from that plague. Despite these challenges, Venice endured. It transformed itself from a maritime empire into a cultural capital, a must-see destination on the grand tour for wealthy Europeans who came to marvel at its art, its architecture, and its unique way of life. It became a city of pleasure, of Vivaldi's music and Casanova's escapades. The end of the Republic came in 1797 at the hands of Napoleon Bonaparte. After 1,000 years of independence, the most serene republic surrendered without a fight. The age of Venetian glory was over, yet Venice was not defeated. The city that was built against all odds, that rose from the mud to command an empire, has a resilience etched into its very foundations. Today, it faces new challenges. Mass tourism, rising sea levels, a shrinking local population. But the spirit of Venice, the spirit of ingenuity and adaptation, lives on. When you walk through its car-free streets, when you glide down a quiet canal in a gondola, When you stand in the middle of Piazza San Marco, you are standing on a miracle, a testament to human ambition. Venice is more than a city. It's a dream built on water, a fragile masterpiece that has, against all expectations, managed to last. It is a living, breathing museum, a reminder that even in the most impossible of places, humanity can build something eternal. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this journey through history, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell for more stories of the world's most fascinating places. See you next time.